Welcome to this Wednesday webinar on a Tuesday in April in Stockholm, Sweden. I am, but maybe you are somewhere else. And today we will talk about the gamification to data collection, how to improve customer experience. And of course, as you realize, we have a lot of webinars and it's a high interest to all our webinars and content, but we don't really do any breakfast seminars or conferences at the moment. Hopefully, we will be back on that in the fall. But now we will talk about the gamification, and we have an expert with us. Is Gilles Lenaerts from Qualifio. Welcome, Gilles.
Thank you, Mats.
Hello. I mean, hello, and I guess you are also working from home.
Yes, I'm working from home. 4 weeks ago, I was still living in Sweden, but now I'm back in lockdown here in Belgium in a small Flemish village. But the webinar still allows us to communicate, of course.
And you hear about all the crazy Swedes that are running around in the streets and partying in the bars and so on, I guess.
Yes, apparently for us that's crazy. We're all inside, locked up.
Okay, yeah. So happy to both listen to you and all your experiences, but also a little bit who you are and who Qualifio is. So welcome. I give over the control to you now.
All right. So normally everybody should be able to see my screen. I don't know if you can confirm, Mats.
Yes, coming up there.
All right. Okay, and I think we should have moved to my screen now. Seeing the title slides. So from gamification to data collection, how to improve a customer experience. So basically, let's start with the start, as Matt said, a small introduction. Who am I? I am a country manager for the Nordics region at Qualifio. And Qualifio is basically a platform that allows people without any technical knowledge, so that can be marketing people, journalists, CRM people, to create interactive content. So I'll show a couple of examples of that later on, but interactive content can be quizzes, games, polls, competitions, anything that makes your audience engage with you online. So this can be on your website, this can be on landing pages or on social media, so on Facebook or Instagram. Basically the platform is also built around collecting data during those interactions. So basically it helps you to very easily get to know the interests of the people you interact with, and also be able to communicate with them by, for example, allowing them to subscribe to a newsletter and stuff like that. So yeah, you see a couple of logos, of course, on the bottom of companies we work with. These are both international brands like Danone, like LOreal, who really use it to promote their products, but also media companies, as our company was also founded by two media guys. So in Sweden, for example, you'll see Aftonbladet or other media. When you see, for example, on Aftonbladet, the quiz popping up on the plus section, that is most likely made with Qualifio, with the platform, by just people, journalists that don't use a single line of code. But enough about us. So the agenda for today, basically, of course, if you saw the title, data collection, customer experience, it's all very broad. So we want to pinpoint a bit. We're going to start with some very small trends. Zooming in then on interactive content, what is it and how is it linked to these trends? And then we're really gonna go into two specific cases, one of Dr. Oetker, the second one of Nestl, both FMCG brand in food and beverages. But basically the usage of interactive content isn't limited to those kind of companies, of course. We work with, as you saw, large media companies, banks, insurance companies, or even small e-commerce websites. So it really, isn't limited to those kind of brands, but of course it's nicer to show a brand name that you know, of course, as an example. And then of course, at the end, we'll make also the link with Qualifio or with our platform, how it actually, all links up. And then at the end, we will have some time for Q&A. So on the right side, normally you have a kind of chat or question window. I don't have a view on it right now, but Mats will also be keeping an eye on those questions. So either he'll interrupt me, so that's fine.
I will do that.
Perfect. So do interrupt me and don't hesitate to ask any questions. And otherwise, there's still also time at the end for some Q&A. So let's get started. When we're talking customer experiences, of course, it's a classic one, the customer journey mapping. There's tons of different ways of making those kind of maps. And the goal is not that we're going to build any of them today, but just it's nice to make a link of those. This is not something we made. It's something I stole actually online. So I'm going to share the presentation afterwards, but this is a nice link to try and build your own. But it's a nice exercise to think a bit about, okay, who is my customer? What are the stages they go through from the first time they interact with us and get aware of what they need until buying and becoming a loyal customer. So what's the most essential part if you are trying to find out who your customers are and how they interact with you in these kind of customer journeys? So the first step is, of course, to start and try and find out your personas. So these need to be, of course, more than a nice visual of a girl and a fake name. These need to be really based on qualitative and quantitative research. So basically, you need to know what are the things that these segments like, what are their needs. So if we go back, we see really we need to look at the customer's goals, directions. So what do they do? What are they thinking? How are they experiencing their problem, their interaction with you? What are their pain points? And of course, when we see this, there are a lot of those blocks. And if you try to fill those in just just like that, you'll see that there's a lot of blanks and a lot of things you don't know. And basically, at Qualifio, we think that interactive content can help you to fill some of these blanks. So basically to get to know your customers better. And to keep improving on those things. And then again, these timelines, so this can be the different phases in your buying process, and this really also needs to be adapted to your own process. So the goal today is also not to give you these one-size-fits-all processes, but just to get you thinking and see how can gamification help in every step in this buying process. And then it's important, as we said, to find out, okay, what are the emotions, how is your customer feeling about their problem, about your product? It can be happiness, frustration, anything. And then, basically, where is your customer interacting with you? So this can also differ per segment, but people are everywhere now online, whether it be social media. There are tons. On social media, there's already tons of channels there alone. There's websites, there's blogs. There's also the offline channels. So basically, these are the main things to think about. And to give then an example of a filled-in customer journey map, for an e-commerce store, we can see that in every step, these goals, for example, are evolving. So of course, when they're not aware yet of a product or a need, there's no goals yet. When they then want to buy shoes, this changes, they start comparing, and so on and so on. But basically, in communicating with every one of your prospects or customers in every step, your communication also needs to adapt based also on the channels. So if we're thinking of experience and how people are feeling, and knowing people, we're thinking about data. And then a lot of people, when they hear the word data, think of the big complex tools, large amounts of data, and they basically say, look, this is too complex. Either we're a small team and we don't have the knowledge inside, or we don't have the tools. But that's basically not an excuse. Actually, the more and more the focus is moving away from this big data approach to small data. And what do we mean by small data? It's basically data that's actionable. So basically, it's a type of data on a personal level, on a per person basis, that you can just ask to somebody when he's surfing on your website or on social media. And it's much more structured, so you can basically ask somebody what does he like, and based on his answer, you can start personalizing communication. Yeah, and the last, let's say trend is linked to this is also GDPR and the whole wave of security measures that are being implemented. Also, for example, more and more browsers are blocking the third-party cookies, as some might know. So to give you in a nutshell the explanation of this slide, so third-party data is data that you can use from external sources, from external let's say providers to segment your audience. Second party data, that might be data that you share with partners. So for example, when you're doing affiliate marketing. And first party data is really the data that you collect on your own website, on your own channels. And that can be either behavioral data, so the data from somebody surfing, which items he clicks on, which article he reads, or this can be declarative data. So really, let's say where the interaction comes in, where people answer on a question. It can be in a chatbot maybe, or it can be in what we call the interactive marketing, quizzes, contests, polls, everything. So basically, the goal is more and more to start creating context on your website. So if we take, for example, here the homepage of Arla, it's not just let's say a recipe website anymore, but it's really to build your food plan based on your needs. So basically, they're going to ask you before they show you the content, how many portions will you need? For how many days are you building a food plan? And basically, the whole content of the website will adapt on the input that you give there. So more and more the focus is on personalizing and not based on any big machine learning or large assumptions, but by basically just asking the people surfing on your website, what do you like or what do you need? So sometimes we don't need to make it too complex, and it can be very simple. And as I said, basically at Qualifio, we see that interactive campaigns can help brands overcome these challenges of personalizing in a complex environment. So here we see on the left a swiper campaign, a kind of personalized Tinder of a Belgian kitchen brand to help people find out which types of kitchens that would fit most their personality, and of course they would be more interested in. So what is interactive content? So a short link with the campaign types, for example, that can be created in our platform. This can be quizzes and contests, basically anything where you can get a score, where you can be right or wrong, and you can incentivize people to play and go viral. There's then more the polls, votes, and personality tests, where you're asking more of the opinion of people and can give them, for example, a self-test where they can find out more about themselves or about what they like and educate them. There's, of course, more the gamified formats where everything is more about creating a positive experience and a fun experience across a link to your brand. User-generated content is also something that is becoming more and more popular, especially in the countries that are locked down now in Corona, with people sharing different photos and videos of how they're coping with the stress or boredom of being locked up, of course. And then, of course, we have a couple of other types of formats that don't really fit in the standard blocks. For example, the advent calendars, it's quite popular in Sweden, I'd say, where you have, for example, let's say doors every day opening and people coming back to your website or social media to play and interact with you on a regular basis, and then keep that interaction going on. To give you a very concrete example, I took here Doritos, one of PepsiCo's crisp brands. So basically, they organized a kind of Doritos battle. So I clicked on a link and I'm now here in the preview environment of our platform. And basically, this is a contest where they say, let's do the ultimate taste battle. So if you play, you can win 1 year of free Doritos. And what they did here is they said, okay, we're gonna put 2 products against each other, and you need to vote for your favorite product. So basically for them, it's a way to find out who is which products you like the best. And after, let's say, sharing all these things, you can also, of course, you need to fill in your details if you want to participate to the contest, but you can also subscribe to the newsletter to stay in contact and get some inspirational content, or of course be informed for future contests that they're organizing. So that's one example. Another example is here from L'Oreal, the French cosmetics brand. So they have again a campaign here for a lipstick brand called Cacharel, where they did more of a self-test. And I'm gonna have to refresh. So basically, what they did actually is they have a kind of a number of questions where you need to share, okay, what is your favorite makeup? How do you feel today? And at the end, you get then, let's say, the perfect lipstick that are linked to your brand, or that are linked to your personality, sorry. Then a couple of years ago with the World Cup, the Euros, we had UEFA Ladies and MasterCard organizing a campaign together. Every day, somebody had to click one of the 4 goals to see where the prize was hidden. So every day there was a family ticket to one of the games, or a prepaid MasterCard that was to be won. So again, a way for these brands to use these gamification methods to build a community with recurring formats, and basically keep communicating and go viral around their brand. And of course, in Sweden also, for example, now with the Euros being postponed, you still need to keep communicating with your customers. And a nice example here is, for example, Svensk Football, that is using their content so they have a huge archive of existing content, and they are using this to engage with the people online. For example, here a quiz on the different shirts that were used in the different Euros or World Cups, and you had to match here the shirts with the year that was playing. So basically, in a nutshell, they're making Zlatan work for them again. In summary, why do we, let's say, vouch for the interactive content? Well, in general, regardless of the goal, it really increases the conversion that you're having when comparing with static content. But there are 3 main goals that we see our customers using our formats for. One is really purely the brand image and the engagement. So basically, having people spend time with the brand and being top of mind. The second part is the data collection aspect. So on one hand, of course, having the opt-in to be able to send a newsletter or an SMS or a notification, and to be allowed to communicate with somebody on a personal level, to get personal data, preferences, so to know, okay, what content is actually most relevant to this person, how can we personalize our newsletter, or how can we personalize our website, and also the intention. So the intention is maybe less for FMCG brand, but an intention can be, for example, are you going to buy a car in the coming weeks or coming months? Or I was going to say, are you going to go on a holiday abroad in the coming months? But I think that's going to be a no for everybody. So that's something we don't need to ask anymore. And then activations, that's basically, when you're, for example, launching a new product, these kind of interactive formats are an easy way to go viral around your brand, and it's very easy to also include couponing and sampling in these kind of formats. So as I said, we were going to focus on two cases today. The first one is about Dr. Oetker. So we all know Dr. Oetker from the frozen pizzas, or let's say the waffle recipes. So basically, their goal has been to build around a kind of community of people either eating pizzas or using their doughs to make pancakes or waffles or whatever, to increase the engagement and be able to target actions to their most loyal customers and not just purely focus on doing big bang TV campaigns. So more and more we see these brands becoming media also. So much like the Agla slide, they also have their own kind of recipe website where they have also a lot of tips, and on a regular basis they also organize contests. Now during the Euros in 2018, they wanted to have a kind of recurring concept to attract. So they already had the people going online to find recipes for waffles or pancakes, but of course a frozen pizza, you just put it in the oven, so nobody's going online to find out how to make the frozen pizzas. So they also wanted to get those people online and in their community, and what they chose to do was basically do a round of prediction games where every match people had to go online and predict the scores of the upcoming games of all the national teams. And yeah, using the platform, it was very easy just to every week copy the same campaigns and make them go online. And so here we see a nice screenshot where they use the nice visuals, of course, that they all have, and promote their products, and basically also the offline sales, because in this campaign everybody was a winner. So even if you weren't right in your predictions, everybody who participated to the prediction got a coupon at the end to get a euro discount for their pizzas. So basically they had a way to engage with their people, or with the people. They gave away unique codes, and they could also track them afterwards, who are the people that are going to let's say buy a pizza in the store based on these online campaigns. And then at the end of the, let's say, series of campaigns, there was one big winner who could win a Samsung TV, of course, to keep everybody coming back and not just come once for the one pizza coupon. Because I said,
Gilles, may I just ask you two questions that got in? Sorry to disturb you, but one question is, are the interactive content possible to add to an email send out, or is it just for the homepage and site?
Well, in emails, it's often we drive people to a landing page then, and it is easy to identify, to automatically identify then when, for example, they click in the email on participate. It's very easy to identify who was the person that played, so they don't need to fill in their details again. So that is one way to use email. I don't know if
so did I follow you right there? Is it possible to, for example, select the different bags at the Mexican company in the mail directly?
Well, in a mail, it will always be with closed questions, because basically you won't be able, for example, to have a whole jackpot mechanic in an email. But what you will be able to do is, for example, have one question with 3 options, A, B, and C, and then when you click, it pre-fills the, let's say, the answer in the campaign. So that's for now the limitation that that emails pose. But what you can do is, for example, if I know that I am sending an email to Mats Gustafsson with this pyjama pronostic, what I can do is, if Mats clicks on the link in the email and he fills in his prediction for the game, I can already make sure that the contact details of Mats are pre-filled because we already know them from the email. So that's something that's quite easy to set up.
Okay. Another question, just the last one for now. What platform would you say is the best to begin gamification on, if you were to start with this for the first time?
If you mean with platform on your their own channels, I really say it depends on on the brand. So of course, if you already have a kind of community on followers on one of the social media, it's always good to use your existing base and use because there is quite some let's say sharing functionalities on the platform. So if you already have a nice follower base on social media, it's easy to first target those and use formats that are easily shareable. So for example, in this case, people could say, I predicted that the game of Brazil against Sweden would end 3-0 for Sweden, that they can easily share this on other social media. So that's, for example, a nice way to start by leveraging the existing community. And especially now, I think Facebook advertising is always a good way to start because you can very easily play with different segments in terms of promotion also. But that's something in the next case also will show.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that completely answered the question, but otherwise, feel free to keep answering in the question or the chat box, and we can come back later to that either at the end or after the webinar. All right. So to get back, that's basically what we already said. So we can skip on, to the results. So in this case, we're talking, this was a campaign that was launched in Belgium. So Belgium is a country of around, we're much smaller than Sweden, but we're also the same population size, around 10 or 11 million people, to give you a bit of context. And in the end, there were more than 14,000 people who participated, so who shared their score and who engaged with the whole Dr. Rutger pizza brand. And there were more than 6,000 people that they never had communicated with before that said, okay, I opt in to this newsletter. So basically, this was a very nice way for them to grow their community. But of course, this is not like a one-shot campaign. This is really something they keep redoing. So every time, for example, have the 90-year anniversary or they have a new product, they keep posting these kind of engaging formats and to engage with these users. So that was the story of Dr. Rutger. The second one is about Nestl. So Nestl is a Swiss fast-moving consumer good brand. So they have more than 20 brands all scattered across Europe. And they're doing most of their data collection in-house. And it's quite interesting how they structure this. But to start, we're going to focus just on one of their brands, being Purina. And Purina is basically their pet care, so their dog food and cat food brand, because they did a very interesting campaign or multiple campaigns around that. So what was the concept? Basically, for 12 weeks long, people were challenged to basically take a picture of their pet with one of the Purina Dentalite sticks, which is basically kind of, let's imagine a toothbrush for dogs. And at the end, a winner was selected who would win 6 months of free product. So here we see the visual, again, very nice, dog, the product. And the objective basically was to promote the product and to create, let's say, awareness about dogs' dental health, because apparently, 90% of dogs above 3 years old have dental problems. Of course, nobody wants that, but products like these help to prevent this. And of course, every loving dog owner that knows this will, of course, prevent this by giving his dog his own toothbrush. So the concept was this photo contest: take a picture with a Dentalite stick and win 6 months of Dentalite. So what did they have to do? Basically, there was on their website, they had a participation screen where people could come on and upload their own photo. And then the photos were, of course, displayed with a gallery where you could see the different photos and people could vote for which photo was the best. So what's very interesting here is that you will have less participation in this type of campaign, because one, the product is really focused on dog owners, but at the same time, you have a lot of people that are spending an incredible amount of time thinking about your product. So they're really thinking, okay, how am I going to take a picture of a dog that is better than all the other people that are taking pictures of their dog? So the engagement with your brand is, of course, much higher if you're doing these kind of let's say campaigns. But to give a couple of tips when launching these campaigns one is test your idea. So first, as you can see on the picture on the left, they said, they asked everybody to let the dogs balance the stick on the nose, but it was very clear that not every dog basically was able to do that. So they tested this first out, the concept, with a couple of like a kind of test group, and they adapted the challenge to make it more easy for every dog, or every dog owner at least, to participate. So what they did is they started with only a part of their campaign budget. They first said, okay, let's invest 10% of our full budget and do it with this first group. And basically our platform, because it's quite agile to make changes on the go, allow them to adapt everything in real time. Then of course, you need to be where your customers are. So we had the question in the beginning, on which channel should we start to make these kind of gamification campaigns? Well, of course, there needs to be a bit of focus, but if you can, you really need to be where your customers are. And in their case, dog owners are on different channels. That it's young and old people. So they basically distributed it on social media, so Facebook, on Instagram, by their emailing. There's also kind of online dog communities and influencers they worked with, but also offline. So it's sometimes an important one that's still forgotten, but even within the company, did it kind of bring your dog to work day, where every employee was also encouraged to participate. And then the reward. What's quite interesting about this is that it's always good to find a reward that linked to your own brand. So they might as well have, if they wanted more participations, they might as well have given away a Tesla. But of course, then you don't get the dog lovers, you just get people who want to win a Tesla. So the goal for them, of course, was really to find out the customers that are valuable to them. So why not give away 6 months of free products? And then, the reason why I said, okay, for example, Facebook is a good way to get started is because it's very easy to test with different audiences and to test what the results are. So, for example, what they did is they had they did 2 tests on 2 types of audience, 2 segments that they built. And if we just look at the cost of each audience, we might very easily say that the first audience is the cheapest one, so let's go for the cheapest one. But what did they see? That the email open rate, the click-through rates in the emails, and the unsubscribe rate on the emails afterwards, so after the campaign, were much lower than for audience B. So for them, of course, as they want to build an engaged audience and a loyal audience, it makes more sense to go for audience B. So that's also why when you're starting out, it's easy to, or it's nice to work with Facebook, because you can also very easily test with different segments and also build segments based on the participations. A second factor in the number of people that are going to participate to these types of campaigns is the level of engagement that's required. So how much effort does a participant need to put in these kind of participations? So they saw that, and it's always interesting to monitor what the drop rate was between 2 forms. So in the first, they had 2 variations of the same campaign. In this first campaign, they just asked for first name, last name, and email. And they saw that 95% of the people who uploaded the photo filled in the form and went to the end. If they had a form B, where they also asked for the postal code, dog breed, age, and name, they saw that the drop rate was much higher. So these are really things that really depend on what the goal of your campaign is. So of course, for them, it's very nice to know the breed, the age, and the name to start personalizing. But these are things that you need to take into account when you're planning your campaign, but also afterwards when you're evaluating the results of those campaigns. And then the next steps, of course, so after that campaign was done, this was of course part of a larger strategy. So next step number one was basically to retarget their audience, the same way that Dr. Rutger had this everybody is a winner mentality. They also wanted to keep engaging all the people that didn't win the 6 months of Dentastick. So what did they do? Everybody, so they dropped the pixel, a Facebook pixel on the end, on the last screen of the photo upload campaign. So everybody who participated also was retargeted later on Facebook with a free coupon to get a euro discount on one of their Dental Life packs. Second one was to start pushing the right message. So basically, they wanted to send a different message to let's say, the real dog lovers and more the people who just participated to the campaign just to win the products. So what did they do here? After uploading the picture, they were asked to answer a question. So the question here, sorry, it's in French, but the question says, how many times per month or how frequently should the dog eat a Purina stick to have like the best results? And of course, under the question, they say, okay, don't you know? Scroll a bit further to find the reply. This was a nice way for them to really qualify, okay, who are the people that really care about the subject and really go scroll down and answer correctly, and who is not. And basically, based on this, they gave a more, let's say, promotional offer to the people who answered wrong and gave a more, let's say, inspirational message afterwards to the people who are really, let's say, more caring about their dog. And then on the last step, they try to use these kind of campaigns also to improve the personalization. And here we're linking again with the data collection part we were talking about at the beginning. One thing is, of course, the dog's name. So they saw that they increased the open rate of their emails with 10% if they use the dog names in the emails that they are sending. Of course, there's much more to personalization than just using the name. It's the same when you're sending mails yourself. It's a trick that maybe works once, but doesn't keep working. But it's a nice way of something they tested and they then also measured. But as you saw before, they're also playing with making segments for the different sizes of dogs. Or when they see that a dog has reached a certain age, they might realize that the dog might already be dead, so they stop sending promotional messages with that dog's name, for example. So basically, the three main takeaways here of this campaign is that when you start pushing the right message to the right person, your conversion will increase. So that's why it's very interesting to try and play with what data is important or interesting to know about my customer. And then basically it shouldn't be complex, the lead generation. So what's just important is that you start finding out who is your valuable target and start investing your money there. So basically here I'm referring back to the investment in your for example, in the Facebook audience. The goal is not to reach everybody, but just to reach the people that are valuable to you. And then test and retest. So what's very nice is that they didn't spend all their money on a campaign that was too difficult for all the dogs to participate. So it's an advice I can give. Test your ideas first before you spend all your money on it. And again, here, this was not just one campaign. So basically, they have more than 6,000 coupons that were distributed. 9,500 people of their profiles are now segmented. So basically, So for those people, they get a more personalized communication than just a standard email to everybody. And this is actually all part of a larger structure. So you see on the left, Purina is not the only Nestl brand. So basically every brand or the brand managers in every brand can use Qualifio to publish campaigns on their Facebook app, on their website, or on landing pages. And basically centrally at Nestl, the CRM manager can see all the profiles coming in his CRM and can use these to send out newsletters that use targeted ads or the lookalike audience and stuff like that. So in this larger strategy, they built more than 100 campaigns in 1 year. They increased their opt-in rate a lot and then collected quite some leads. So this is an example really of a large corporation, but this works, of course, also on a much more smaller scale. For example, with a small e-commerce with one website and just a newsletter. So yeah, to end, how does Qualifio fit into this, or which part of the whole action do we take care of? So as I said, Qualifio is a platform. So basically, everybody can log into our platform, or everybody that has an account at least can log into our platform and create one of our interactions. So we saw already a number of the formats at the beginning. You can publish them on multiple channels. So this can be a website, but there's different ways. So it can also be social media or other publication channels. And afterwards, in the end, of course, you can measure what you're doing. So you can see who is answering. You can see how many people who are dropping off. Basically, you have a kind of dashboarding, live dashboarding in the platform. But the goal is also not that the data stays inside our tool, so it can be pushed and integrated automatically to other systems, whether you're using a CRM or just a simple MailChimp or whatever. So that's basically the idea. So yeah, that was it from my side. So I don't know, Mats, if there were any additional questions coming in.
Yeah, I have some questions, and you're welcome, of course, to send in your other questions too. But I believe that you mentioned some things that I think is kind of also important. I want to comment on it. First, you mentioned the rewards, and of course, I've seen many examples of gamified marketing activities where maybe you can win things and have rewards that is not really relevant for the business that the company is doing. But do you have anything else to say there? Because you mentioned the Tesla, but of course then you get the wrong people there, and it should be relevant and linked to your business and products, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. It's always nice if it's linked to your product, because you're gonna attract the right people. It's the same way as with the let's say the example, the slide on the unsubscribe rates on Facebook on the different audiences. Even with the Tesla, you might have sorry for the Tesla again, but you might have more people subscribing, for example, to your newsletter if that's the goal. But in the end, if they're not interested, these people will just unsubscribe again, and then yeah, your metrics will also become quite irrelevant to monitor, because it's just not readable anymore. Yeah. So indeed, the more relevant your reward is, I'd say the better, and the better your money is spent also.
But I mean, if you start to use your platform, are you also able to support your customers in terms of advices, and so we don't go wrong here and do the totally strange things or so?
Yeah, that's a good question. So basically, what we do is we help a customer, so they can go in there and they can create the campaigns, but it is not that you're alone in the platform. So when we get started, we give a training. So we come by. Of course, in Corona times, it might become more and more difficult to come by in person, but it can be a webinar like this. So we give a training to first of all make sure how to work with the platform. And then you have a customer success manager who does a kind of follow-up with our customers. So indeed, if you have questions like, okay, we want to do this this type of action and we're not sure about how we should take it or what rewards you should give, yeah, of course, then the customer success manager can help with that. And we also have a blog with a lot of really nice inspirational content that can help you out with inspiration. And then as a third angle for our customers, we have a kind of studio service that can also build campaigns for them. So yeah,
okay,
that's
yeah, because I mean, I've seen sometimes also that companies kind of doing games that's not really also linked to their business, but doing a game to collect information, contact information about customers, but not really relevant for what they're doing and so on. And I guess maybe you can support in that too, so you get actually doing kind of the right relevant things. So you get also the right customers, of course, or contacts.
Yeah, definitely. We'll always try to focus, and that's the value of being quite spread out over Europe. So as I said, we're a Belgian company, but we work both in the Nordics, in Germany, in Spain, in France. And then what's very interesting is, for example, if I'm working with a media brand or a sports team in Sweden, we can very quickly ask around internally what people are doing in other countries. So it's always very nice. Every now and then, every quarter, our customer success managers also have a kind of one-to-one with our customers, where they will share kind of let's say, the greatest campaign inside their sector, also across Europe. So in terms of inspiration, we try to also always share these kind of best practices, not really coming from us. So we don't try to come up with these, let's say, these are the best practices for gamification, but we try to trigger our customers with like examples from others, because in the end, it's not up to me to come and tell you, you know your customers better than I do. So, but what we can do is we can definitely trigger you with inspiration and ideas.
That's good, to come into your community of customers. We have a question about more general about will the presentation material be available, and we will both send an link to the presentation and also the recorded version of this webinar, so you can spread out or see it again. And also we will send out an evaluation, and very happy if you answer that, because we really look into that and try to do it better and better, and see what you like and not like. Okay, so Gilles, any last comment before we close?
No, I think I hope to get some more questions, and definitely the feedback is super important for us, because we try to do this on a regular basis, these kind of webinars. So it's really great to know how we can improve this and make it more relevant. And then if there are people still stuck with questions or want to see how this could apply to them, I'm always happy to jump on like more let's say a one-to-one webinar with a coffee and have a chat, let's say.
Yeah, actually we got a last question here in the end before we close. Any example or advice for B2B campaigns and B2B companies?
Of course, B2B is quite broad, but we do have some B2B companies we're working with. It really depends on the brand. For example, the first thing that pops up in my mind is Coca-Cola in the Benelux. Basically, they're also more and more using our platform to engage with the restaurant owners and the cafes and bars. Of course, again, with the lockdown, that's maybe not the best example right now, restaurant businesses and stuff like that. But yeah, it is being used in B2B, especially for lead generation, and to have a more engaging way, also to get feedback, to get and get more an idea of what the relevant content is for those.
Okay, good.
But
okay. So Gilles, big thank you to you for the interesting presentation, and we will be in touch. Of course, we will send the material as I mentioned, and also the recorded version. And I hope I see you soon again, Gilles, and maybe I hope I see you soon again in Stockholm and Sweden, back in
Yes,
business here.
I would very much like that. I've spent all the winter in Stockholm. Now I want to spend the summer too.
Yeah, let's see how it
Dark
works.
period already.
It looks like it's open up slowly, hopefully, so getting better. Okay,
Let's hope so.
have a nice rest of the day, and thank you to all of you. Bye-bye, see you soon again.
Bye, everyone.